Hello, beautifuls. I wanted to make a video about the power of mammies, right? Cause the mammies be out here mammying, like, um, um. So I watched a video, and it was by High Priestess of Babylon, and she said, "Be careful in how we use the word mammy." And if you've been following me for some time now, or you've been subscribed for some time now, I made a video. I made a blog, Mammy Mule Pick Me, and I dedicated a whole video to how to the mammy and how not to mammy, right? But when she made this video, it kind of, I don't know if that was her intent, but I'm gonna tell you what it felt like to me when she said it, right? It sounded like a warning, right? It sounded like a warning. And I took it as that, right? So I tried to stop using the word mammy in a derogatory way, right? And I have not found a word to use. I did pick up the term handmaiden, which was, I suppose, was a term that was used before in the BWE spaces, right? But I haven't found a word to truly describe the mammy that we are trying to, how we use mammy today in describing black women, right? In these kind of spaces. But I've decided to do some study of the mammy, right? The archetype of the mammy, the original mammy, and then how she shows up today, and really her true power, right? So we know how mammies look, right? Or how they used to look. And it used to be, usually a fat, dark-skinned, black woman, slave, right? That was who the mammies were, or that's how the mammies were drawn, and that's how the mammies looked, right? And there was an argument that these were not actual mammies because these women, they had some kind of, favor from, slave owners, right? And they said that the women that had favor from slave owners usually were fair skinned, and usually not fat, right? So I went digging, right, and I found that the reason why these women, right, the original archetype of the mammy, right, which was a fat, dark skinned black woman, and that's. All right, let's get back to that. Okay, I'll get back to that. But what I was about to say, because I'm gonna get on to that. But these women were favored by slave owners because of their obedience, right? Not only their obedience, their skill, and their skill, which was a skill of healing, right? These were healers, right? These were healing women. And now what I have learned to be healing women, those original, women who did root work, right? That's what it was titled back then, or that's what we call it. We call it root work, right? And root workers are now known as hoodoo practitioners, right? So these women, they knew how to work roots on people, literally, which would be hexes, right? But they also knew how to heal. And because of this, the slave owners favored them because not only were they healing to slaves, they were also healing to the white family, right? They were also catering to the white family. They used their skill, their maternal instinct, their mothering. Some of them, those women were wet nurses. And their whole being was used for others, right? Every part of them, their breasts, of course, for wet nursing, and their fat bodies were used for breeding, because back then. Okay, so now we have an issue in morbidly obese women, or even overweight black women, and not being able to be fertile, right? But that was not an issue back then, right? Even though these women were fat, they were not always morbidly obese and could not reproduce, right? So their bodies were used for reproducing and breeding, and they were just overall used black women who still who still somehow remained good natured, right? And I started to think about the Mammies, or what I would think of the Mammies in my family, right? And how even though they were harmful, right? They still had this good nature about themselves, right? And in my family, the Mammies in my okay, the Mammies in my family, they actually look like the archetypical Mammies, right? So my grandmother, my father's mother, literally, if I could show you ladies a picture of her, you was like, she literally looks like a Mammy. She's short. She is short and stout, wide hips, dark skin, was a heavier woman, literally looks just, look just like how you would imagine a Mammy to look, right? Or you would have imagined a Mammy to look. And as I'm getting older, so this is, this shape that black women have, that is it's a title for it. I think it's like an A shape, right? So it's small up top, and then it gets big hippie, right? And when you're small, right, it doesn't really show that well, right? But as you begin to gain weight, the weight begins to come in the form of your hips and your butt and your thighs. And I'm getting older, so it's and I'm living well. I'm living well, right? So I'm beginning to get that shape that my, even though my grandmother, she may have been larger, but I'm beginning to get that shape and not only that, my grandmother, she used to bend over, right? She did not walk upright. She used to bend over. And I'm realizing as I'm getting older, like, I'm inheriting that grandmother's body type, right? Not literally the bending over, because I'm not that old yet. But her small up top, and as she began to gain weight, getting more hippier and more heavier in her bottom, right? So I'm beginning to look like her, right? This Mammy grandmother, although I'm not as dark as her. My facial features are not, the face of the Mammy was, wide lips, and do I have to put a picture of a Mammy? Okay, like Aunt Jemima face, right? Although my face does not look like that, I'm beginning to have that. I'm beginning to inherit her body, right? So that's one Mammy in my family. And then my aunt also has the look of a Mammy. She is a much taller woman, but she's dark skinned and she's heavier. And these women were literal Mammies, right? In my family, these were the literal Mammies. Like my grandmother, although I was not close to her, because the Mammies don't like the son's wives, right? So she didn't like my mother, right? She was not a big fan of my mother, and as a result, I was never able to get close to her. But what I learned in getting older and trying to figure out who she was as a woman, I learned that she was indeed a medicine woman, right? She was indeed a healer, and she was kind of a witchy, right? She was a witchy black woman. And I remember being in her presence, and I remember feeling her sheer power, right? The power that she had over everybody, because she had, she had a bunch of sons, right? But she also had a daughter, and I was just able to see how she just kind of just bossed everybody around. Like, she just, when she spoke, people listened, right? She was able, and by the time that I got old enough to really recognize what it was in her, right? It was sheer power, right? She was bent over and she began to sit a lot. So she would really like be a tyrant from a chair, right? And my mother's side of the family are tall, right? So she would do this with my brother, but my brother is 6'4", right? And most of the males around her would be very tall, and my mother was tall, and then because she bent over, everybody kind of, stood over top of her, but she was still demanding in how she behaved, right? She was still kind of a little old woman tyrant. like really, she really was a little old woman tyrant. And but right, beneath her tyranny or tyranny, right, and beneath her mammying and being, of course, a mother of thuns, right, it was a part of her that was good natured, right? It was a part of her that was kind and that was good, and that was now that I am honoring her, even in her, now that I'm honoring her, even in even in trying to figure out who mammies were, and also in just trying to honor the women of my lineage, right? And honoring her, and then wanting to know her, even, we had the ability to get to know the women of our ancestry, of course, via memory, but in asking around, right, trying to figure out who she was. But I remember how people feel, right? And I remember that it was something in her that was good natured and that was kind, and that did have a good intention, right? And then also my aunt, right, who was very nasty to me, and but even in her, right, I still understand and that good nature in her, and now being able to confront her, right, and being able to confront her and tell her some of the things that she, because she also is a mother of thuns, right? She got 3 of them. Right, and showing her some of the ways that she supported her sons and how it affected women, and knowing that those kind of things were a curse against her, I kind of confront her with some of it now, right? And I can see how, okay, this is gonna sound, y'all know, right, over here, Black women are handled with, extreme care, right? And I can see some of the regret that she has, and I can also see how she may have been molded to be this person, or this kind of self-sacrificing woman who was here to be of service to everyone else. And now I'm able to see how, not now I'm able to see, but now I'm able to show her how life should have been lived. And now she, can openly and honestly tell me some of the things that she regrets, right? In her life, and in how she was used, right? Flat out used. How she was flat out used. And then I look at mammies on a grander scale, and I begin to start looking at that archetype of that physical archetype, right? Because it's familiar to us, right? In some kind of way, which is why I'm gonna go on a fucking diet, because I don't want to start looking like a fucking mammy, because if that archetype does become familiar to us, right? We like to be we like that that kind of big mama feel, especially as African American, people. One of the things that my daughter used to do, and she did it to everybody, but especially to the heavier people in my family, she would like put her hand up underneath of their arms and kind of like squeeze their fat, right? And it's something that we left about, and to this day she still does it, right? It is something that feels good about that kind of woman to us, right? Not just physically, but it's something that we do want to be around, that big mama archetype. Like, we do want to be around it. She does feel good to us, and she does feel, we all are able to feel that good natured spirit that's in them, right? So and looking for that archetype, right, I began to start looking for it and physically, and one of the women that I think has that archetype and is used for it, right, is Stacey Abrams, right? So she literally looks like a Mammy, right? And I've done for those of you listening, like, damn, she's really, for the women that she just now said she was gonna honor, right? I can honor an ancestor, and I can still hold them accountable, right? And I can honor who those women were and still hold them accountable, because when they come back, which they do, Stacey Abrams is here fucking mammying, right? Because when they come back, if I'm able to deal with, okay, this is getting very, very, I guess, very, I don't know what's the word to use, maybe witchy, right? So if I'm able to confront that in the spiritual realm, right, and I'm able to call it out in the spiritual realm, then maybe when they return, they won't be putting themselves in positions to be used by everybody, right? So as I confront my aunt about it, and I let her know, like, the things that you have done, as a mammy and mammy, and for everybody else, it's caused you a great harm. Big mama on fucking Soul Food, got her fucking leg cut off, and like, these things are not beneficial to that archetype, right? How they are being used, but just like my daughter is, and us in general, we're able to see this big mama archetype, this mammy archetype, and we kind of love it, right? But other people, right, who don't love it and who are not revering it in any way, right? Which I have decided to revere it, right? Women who physically have that archetype and who have that spirit, I have decided to kind of, I'm open to checking it, right? I will check it, but I also revere it because I understand its power, right? So for those of us who are deciding to revere it, right, and deciding to check, not necessarily check it, right, but to call out some of the flaw in it, right? That's our work, right? I'm telling you, that's our work. But for others, their work is to use it, right? They understand that archetype is a powerful archetype, right? So Stacey Abrams is one that's being used, right? She has the Mammy archetype, and she also has all of the power that Mammies have, right? The power to sit and be a fucking tyrant, just like my grandmother, right? She has the power in her body, in her soul, in her spirit to really sit and kind of weld the oh gosh, I hope that this is recording because my screen is turned off. Oh, okay, it is, right? But she has that kind of power to kind of sit and weld people to do what the fuck she wants them to do, right? Just like the original Mammy, just like my grandmother, just like my aunts, and just like, really, it's a power that all black women have, but in seeing it in that archetype, right, is amazing to me as I begin to study it, right? So as I begin to study Stacey Abrams, right, and some of the things that she was able to do in this realm for others, right, and just being used and used and used for others, I started to think, like, what if she would have took all of that power that she has, right, as a Mammy, because they are powerful, right, and used it for herself, right, for herself and her image and what matters to her as a black woman, right? What kind of work would she have been able to get done? Instead, she's using her power for others. I mean, and it just had me think, like, these physical archetypes of the mammies, and also women who are able to tap into that kind of energy, right? The Mammy energy, are extremely powerful black women, right? Another example of that kind of woman is the Black Lives Matter lady, right? This woman literally had the world on its knees for her fucking crackhead son or junkie son, right? And I don't mean literally her son, right? But she literally had the whole world stop. Like, this is the power of these women. This is the power of these women. This is the power of black women in general. But the power of the Mammy archetype is something to be fucking said, right? How this woman was really able to stop the entire world. The whole fucking world, Craig. She was able to stop the world and have the world at its knee for what she said was worth it, right? What she said mattered. The whole world listened. The whole world. And what if she would have used that power for black women and girls, right? What if we took that power? What if we were able to weld in that power, those of us that can tap into that power, and those of us who live in it, right? Because in more open spaces of black women, where black women are not as scared as we are, right? I see that archetype all the time, and women who are deciding to put themselves first. And I'm just like, yes, sis. Yes, sis. This is, you're black women in general, but this archetype is really running the fucking show, and seeing those women choose themselves, it really what is the word I want to say? It really warms my heart, and it really makes me have hope for the future. And also it really just reminds me of the power that black women could have if we decided to put it on ourselves, right? I think that black women who are able to tap into that power, right? Or inherit that power, right? Because sometimes you can inherit that kind of power. So an example of how you inherit it, right, is when Big Mama transition and your family kind of puts that kind of weight on you, right? And I have heard several black women who are in, like, I guess BWE spaces. I want to kind of detach myself from divestment, right? So I'm not going to say divested, right? Because I just want to get away from it. Period. And I don't want to say Cronin black women, because that's for us, right? That's specifically for us over here, right? But in spaces where black women are putting themselves first, right? I hear the story of how Big Mama died, right? And the family kind of looked toward these black women, and even though they were not the physical archetype of the Mammy, right? But the family kind of looked towards them to kind of take up her position, right? And and how black women denounced it. Like, no, I'm not going to be a big mama, right? And that is something that I had to do. Even though my mother, she did not, fit the physical archetype of the mammy. My aunt, who did fit the physical archetype of the mammy, she had a stroke and was paralyzed, right? And then my mother kind of inherited that position, right? My aunt, that aunt that is, that has the physical archetype of the mammy, she is my family, my mother's, my matrilineal line. She is my matrilineal line, matriarch, right? So she literally is the mammy. That's her position, right? Or that was her position, and then she had a stroke and she couldn't take a, she couldn't mammy no more, right? Like, at this point, the divine mother decided to spare her and just, let her have a stroke, and then she could just, live out the rest of her years. I guess it was sparing, reflecting, right? This sounds, this sounds kind of, anyhow, so that power was passed on to my mother, which was too much, right? It was too much for her, right? And as a result, y'all need to go to therapy. Yeah, I'm really one of those people that laugh at things that should not be laughed at, right? So, like when women are talking about how they are in awkward situations and they just start laughing, like, that's me. In case y'all didn't know, right? I laugh at all the wrong times, but it sends, I guess it may be a form of self-protection, right? Because when you're in a situation with males and you just kind of laugh and kind of slide on out of there, that laugh has saved my life several times. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. Anyhow, my mother, I feel like that was too much pressure for her, right? And as a result, she just phased on out of here. Like, being a big mama, it wasn't really for her. It wasn't really for my mother. And so here's how it goes, right? When that kind of power when that kind of power is passed along, right? So, my mother transitioned, and then, I became responsible for my aunt, right? The aunt that was, the original matriarch and big mama and mammy of my family, right? And I felt like they thought that, Preem gonna be big mama, right? And I rejected that shit as soon as I began to put myself first, and I realized, oh shit, I am becoming the big mama. So not only was I offered that or passed down that position from my own mother, right? But then I was also being kind of groomed by my aunt to, take on the what is it? I don't know what to say, right? Like, to take the hat of the big mama, right? And then on my father's side, is my grandmother who has is another, who also has the archetype, of a mammy. And then I was starting to kind of, I was starting to inherit her look or her body type, right? And I was just like, fuck no, I don't want it. Right? I was just like, fuck no, I don't want it. But I feel like I still, regardless of if I wanted it for my family or not, I was able to transmute that energy and use it for myself, right? I was able to transmute the energy that I inherited, which would have been the mule mammy archetype in black families, right? And I was able to transmute it, and I was able to use it for myself and to use it for my daughter, and now to use it for my work, right? And I feel like black women who have that kind of power, right? Or who have that, and you know, as I always say, you know, this kind of you know, black women, all black women have a different kind of power that she can tap into, and she can tap into every single archetype, right? If she wants to. And having that power, right, I decided to use it for myself and to use it for my daughter and, you know, black women in general, right? And deciding to do black women's work. And I think that those really, really, really powerful mammies, right? And I guess depending on how far into, how far you are into the esoterics, right? These are very fucking powerful witches. That's what the fuck they are. They're very powerful witches, right? If they were able to use that kind of power to advance black women, like, where would we be? Which is why I decided to kind of bring it to all of our attention, right? To kind of bring it to all of our attention, right? Because we all know a mammy in training, and we all know a mammy, a woman that has that kind of energy, right? Because it's not always wicked, right? That energy is nurturing as well, right? Think about the big mama in your family, right? So yeah, she's mean and she's tough and she is, you know, most likely always sons over daughters, but she's still kind of nurturing, right? She's still kind of, something in her is still kind of good-hearted, right? So when we see that in younger women, or we see that in not even in just younger women, in crones who are, literally turn into mammies, if we are able to sorry y'all, I had a phone call. So I think I was trying to get to transmuting that energy, right? Transmuting that energy, like if we could, those of us who have that kind of energy, right, we know right, if we have that kind of energy, we can probably trace it back where it came from, as I was able to do, or we may be just able to tap into that energy, right? If you watch my video Mammy No More and that video hit you in the gut, you be fucking mammying, or even muling, right? Mammying and muling, or any black woman really can tap into that kind of energy, right? But if you're able to, I think I was talking about people who, okay, so what I was saying was, those of us who have friends, and those of us who actually know mammies or women that are lined up to be the family's mammy, right? If we could kind of like, I guess, get them to transmute that energy, and then us ourselves be able to transmute that energy and use it for, first, look, this is how it needs to go, okay? It needs to go self and daughter first. Self and daughter first, our sisters second, the community that we build together is third, and there is no fourth, right? There is no force. Nothing matters beyond that, right? So if we were able to use that energy that we have as mammies, right? To serve first ourselves and our daughters, right? And I use self and daughters as one because, you know, really, I do think that a black woman putting herself, if she literally is putting herself first, it is also her putting her daughter first, right? And I mean, like, if she was putting herself first, like, not, you know, doing what's necessary to attract males, doing what is necessary to, get a pat on the head from her family. Like, if she really decided to just prioritize herself, she's also prioritizing her daughter. And then if she is open enough, and she does not have to, right? Black women can decide to be on their own if they decide. But if she's open to community with black women, then of course her sister are coming, as a close second. And then, whatever they are able to build together as a third, right? And if we use our energy as mammies to only do that, right? That's it. And we were able to see the mammy and other black women and try to not necessarily try, but if they're our friends, if it's our family, if it's somebody that we are in close community with, try to get her to use her energy as a mammy to also, her mammy energy to also use it for ourselves, right? These are women that are going to be divine healers, right? These are the divine healers. These are the women who are able to manifest. Great manifestors, right? These are the women who really think something and can get it done. These are the women who are able to control others, right? And this is a gift that I know that I have, the ability to get people to do what the fuck I want them to do. Like, that's a gift that I have, and that I know I have, and that I use outside of black women. Like one thing about me, I will use the fuck out of all else, okay? Especially, my favorite, conservative white males. I love using them. But in general, right? Those women have the power. Those women have the power of persuasion, right? These women have the power to convince others to do work for them, right? To literally sit on their ass and just, point out the things that they want done and have them done, right? And she's using that kind of power for someone else. That's what the fuck Stacey Abrams did, right? She literally told everybody what to do that would be of service to someone else. Like, what the fuck? That shit is crazy. But black women have to begin to use that power, the power that they have as mammies, to serve only herself. And that's the fuck it, right? So I think that's all I got on this, right? I hope you ladies are doing well. To the ladies who have been, who email me about joining my Discord, I will be allowing new ladies into the space mid-month. And if you email me, I will send you an email back about a book club reference, so that you can get the book. So when you come into the Discord, you can be ready to read with us. And over here we using our mammy energy for black women. Okay. We're using our energy for first ourselves and our daughters, and then a sisterhood or our sistren, and yeah, we're gonna figure out how to fucking transmute this energy and really use that gift for why it was given. Use that gift that we have, that power that we have as black women to serve us only, right? That's what it was given to us for. I don't know, I guess, maybe in my Discord we can talk about how the fuck it started being used to for others, right? How we allowed ourselves to be used, for others, first of all, historically, and how it shows up now. I mean, today. But yeah, it wasn't, this power was meant for us, right? If it wasn't not meant for us, then we would not have been given it, right? So since we were given it, and that's also, actually, and this just now came to my mind, right? This is also a thing that is particular to slave descendants, right? This is something that's particular to African American women. I see women. I have been questioned about why I don't use the word mammy in talking to being in spaces, black woman first spaces, with black women who were not African American, right? Who were not slave descendants, Adolf, whatever, right? And I was asked why I don't use the word mammy, right? They had no idea that, like, they're using a word that don't even belong to them, to kind of oh my goodness, right. Now we're getting into something, and this is really the power of African American women. They're using a word and this because African American women have used it in this derogatory way in general. But they're using a word to title women, black women in general, who have that kind of behavior. But see, the power the power of the mammy belongs to African American women, right? That's why, African American women be out here fucking caping so hard and able to have these kinds of, kind of be able to set these spells on the whole fucking world, right? And that's something that is particular to African American women. And I think that we should be a little bit more mindful of it, right? We should be more mindful of it, and we should be, trying to tap into that kind of energy and trying to use it for the, for the Black woman collective, right? And it's a power that belongs to African American women. The power of the mammy, which is a beautiful thing, damn it, right? The fact that she is able to, the fact that she is able to fucking, have the world bend at her fucking fingertips, right? Whenever she decides to use her power, she's literally able to stop the whole world, to stop entire states, to change entire states, to change how the whole world is viewing, to have the whole world see something through her lens. Like this, y'all, that is, oh my goodness. That kind of power is in Black women, and we are using it for bullshit. No, we're not doing that no more. No, we're not doing that no more. So, God damn it, crowning Black women, we want to take the term mammy back. And again, I will say that it was High Priestess of Babylon, who is another YouTuber who actually woke that up in me, right? Because when she said it, I felt it in my spirit, right? I felt it in my spirit like a warning from the grandmother, right? And then I had to do the work to figure it out, right? And I've been doing the work to figure it out, and now I, God damn it, I've come full circle. And, it was a power that was given to Black women for Black women, and we have used it for everything else. But God damn it, crowning Black women taking it back. We taking that power back. We're not gonna be insulting the mammies like that no more. Damn it, listen. We're not gonna be insulting them like that no more. What we want is to take our power back, right? And use it for ourselves, right? So the ways that we were mammying and muling around here, we don't do that anymore. We reserve that kind of power for ourselves. And the Black woman collective. And this is, I guess, now that we have gotten here, which was the rest, the African American bit was just something I just now thought of, and it just speaks to how magnificently powerful Black women are, right? I mean, just how magnificently powerful we are. It's fucking, sometimes, y'all, it's amazing to me, right? Even though the mammies out here causing mass destruction, right? Even though they out here destroying every fucking thing because they don't know how to use their fucking power, the fact that they have this, or that we have this kind of power, is just amazing to me. It's amazing to me as a Black woman. Like, the things that we would be able to do if we use this power correctly. Yeah, it's amazing. So, yeah, crowning Black women, we taking back Mammy. No, we're not giving that away. We're not giving the power of Mammy away. Hell no. Hell no. We're going to look through our bloodline and see where the original goddamn Mammy was, and we're going to be okay with that power being, passed down to us, right? We're gonna be okay, Is our fucking hip spread? Is our hip spread and we get like that, or I'm talking about me right now, and we get like that big old butt, like that big old butt, like that butt that, she's dragging a fucking wagon. Yeah, as I drag this, wagon that I inherited from my Mammy grandmother, I also inherited great power from her. Right, I did not only inherit big thighs and big butts from her. I inherited magnificent power, and I accept it. And I accept it. I do not reject it. Right, I accept it, and I plan to undo the work that she and offering my grandmother grace, right? And offering the original Mammy's grace, right? Power that she didn't know what to do with. I know what to do with it, right? So I think that now I really do think that's it. So you ladies have a beautiful rest of the week. To those of you who follow me on Clubhouse and you be looking for me, y'all, I be on Clubhouse now trolling. I just be on Clubhouse trolling at this point. I really don't have anything else to say over there. Or I didn't, but I'm back on the fence about it because, so many of you ladies have messaged me praying when are you going to open up a room. And I'm just like, y'all, I don't know, I don't know, but what I do hope is that the ladies who did, hear me on Clubhouse and maybe that was the first place that you heard me at, that you have decided to come on over here, because this is where the fuck I be at. This way I feel like my gift is respected. And this is where I share it at. And maybe on Clubhouse, maybe I'll open up some rooms to just kick it, or like talk about the fucking trans, because I can't. They out of fucking control. They out of fucking control on trans. Do all the fucking trans live on Clubhouse? Because I don't see that many trans in real life, and I'm starting to think like, are trans even, like, do they only exist online? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, really, like, what the fuck is going on? But I do realize their influence a bunch of online people, mind you. Like, they not even real in the real spaces of in the real spaces talking this shit. Like, when I see trans, besides them wanting to fight over the niggles, like, I don't really be seeing trans doing too much in where I live at, right? But they very bold on fucking line, and they able to get a lot of work done online, and it's I can't let it go, y'all. I'm being honest. Like, every time, and it's because it's Clubhouse, right? I wouldn't even have any interaction with trans or know what the fuck is going on if I was not on Clubhouse. But because I be on Clubhouse, and that's all that's on Clubhouse, y'all, the trans live on Clubhouse. That's where they live at. And yeah, that's the end of that. I'm not even gonna get into that. That's where they live at. But anyway, y'all, have a good week. I can't make no commitments about Clubhouse. I'm sorry. But maybe I'll be speaking on Clubhouse, possibly. Love you, ladies. Be safe. Actually, when I say we taking our shit back, we taking Mammy back too. Like, we taking that back too. We taking that energy, that powerful energy, that top tier witch shit, that top tier witch shit that originally, that Mammy's, and these are our grandmothers, in case y'all didn't know, right? In case y'all didn't know, if you remember how your grandmother looked, like, stop bullshitting me. Like, stop bullshitting me. Your great grandmother, you remember, right? Yeah, these are our grandmothers, right? So when we say we taking our shit back, we taking that back too. We taking the power of the Mammy back. We want that back too. We taking that back too, sis. So anyhow, ladies, have a good night, really.